Hello everyone, and welcome to the Alina Edit, your guide to elevating every aspect of your life. Wellness, beauty, productivity, relationships, and all things in between. I'm your host, Alina, and together we'll curate the best version of you. The main topic for today's episode, how you're going to win 2024 in the final quarter of the game. The goal for today's episode is to not only welcome you to the new and refreshed version of the Stellar Cycles podcast, but to talk to you guys about how you can take an it girl approach to getting your life together in the last 3 months of 2024. Because we all know that with 2025, we'll have a new year, new goals, new achievements, and new milestones that we're going to want to reach. So we're going to need to create some space for that. So in today's episode, I'll be talking about why people generally have a hard time hitting their yearly goals, what kind of hacks you can implement to actually see results in your life over the next 3 months, how you can continue to use this as a practice to elevate your life through 2025, because you're going to get this method down. And I'll also offer some personal examples of what's worked for me. So let's dive into this episode. So first, I kind of want to touch on the rebrand. If you've listened to my podcast before, you know me as formerly the Stellar Cycles podcast, which was mainly focused on women's reproductive health, the female hormones, the cycle hacking, cycle tracking, all of that good, really, really important stuff. And that really stemmed from a passion that I developed as an ultrasound tech in the medical field who was working very closely with women and their reproductive problems, their period problems, etc. And all of that stuff is really, really important. But although I love that topic, I really wanted to enhance this show to be able to offer you guys a broader range of topics and resources and things that you guys are really interested in and love to hear about. Allow me to introduce the Alina Edit, and this will offer you all things to inspire you to pursue becoming your best self. Things such as your presentation. This is just the appearance part of things, right? But the things that we all love to talk about and learn more about, such as beauty, skincare, style, fashion. And then we're going to talk about how you operate. Things like productivity, organization, learning, knowledge. We're also going to hit on a really, really important aspect of our lives, which is relationships. This could be with your partner, with your friends, with your family, with your community. And finally, because I just can't let this topic go, is going to be female wellness. We just know how important that is in our lives and for our world today. And I think the most important thing that we can always come back to is learning and maintaining our knowledge of how to take care of our well-being and our bodies. So with that being said, welcome to the 2.0 version of this podcast, the Alina Edit, and let's get into the episode. So allow me to introduce the topic today, and that is how you can attain your yearly goals with just 3 months left in this year. And that is a much shorter time frame than you'd think. First and foremost, why do we need to talk about this today? Well, because I think many of us have not reached some or maybe even all of our 2024 goals, whether we want to admit that or not. And I would think that most people want to believe that there's some sort of hack to achieving your goals and attaining your goals, because it looks like people do it all the time, but what is their secret? Well, we're going to talk about what that hack is in this very episode, so I'm really excited to get into it. And I just want all of us to feel more prepared and empowered to take on the new year that's coming with confidence that we can knock our personal goals out of the park, but that's going to have to start now. Without a specific system in place, it can be really hard to hit the ground running with a brand new year, and it's really easy to feel super overwhelmed by everything that you want to achieve, but not really have a specific method or game plan for it. Today's episode and this topic in general was inspired by the book, The 12-Week Year by Brian P. Moran and Michael Lennington. I discovered this book about maybe 9 months ago or so, if not a year ago, and its concepts have really changed the way that I look at yearly goals and just goal setting and goal achieving in general, I thought what better concept to share with you guys than this one. So let's talk about the 12-week year and what does that exactly mean? This concept of shrinking down a year to just 12 weeks, it's a really interesting one, but it really helps people achieve what they want to pursue and what they set out to do, because it kind of shrinks down your goal into a shorter time frame of just 12 weeks. That's what you have to work with, which also makes you feel like you got to get moving right away. The methods in this book also teach you how to check in with yourself and how to tweak your plan if necessary, so you can make those adjustments and not feel like you have to stick to something that's not working. Another thing that's really cool about this book is that it helps you turn those bigger yearly goals into smaller, doable action steps that you feel like you can actually take on and do and see small incremental movements. And finally, it keeps you going strong and pursuing your goals with regular actions. Each thing builds on top of each other. You kind of learn how to maintain momentum and not really lose things and have to start over just because you lost your momentum. So this approach in general with the 12-week year really helps you reach results and also teaches you how to increase your productivity, which of course makes it easier to reach your goals in a shorter time frame. I think it's really important for us to identify what the problem is here. Why do we fail to reach our annual goals year after year sometimes? Well, there's a few things that the authors go over in their book, and let me tell you, when you hear them, they're gonna click. It'll be like, okay, yeah, that's literally what I do. That's probably why I haven't been able to reach my goals. The very first thing is the putting things off. Yearly goals make us feel like we have a lot of time to complete them, which can kind of make you think that, oh, well, I have a whole year to get this done. That means if I miss a day or a week, that's really not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. Well, that's kind of the wrong way of thinking and is often a trap of why we don't make enough movement to get to our goals. There's also this vibe of not being in a rush. So without having shorter deadlines that we need to get to, we end up just kind of putting things off and not getting started and not doing them. I think we can all relate to if we have an indefinite amount of time to get something done, we won't really do it as much as we will if we have a very short deadline. Like let's say someone needs something from you by tomorrow, then you're gonna push aside everything else that you have going on and attend to that one thing, right? Another reason why people fail at reaching their annual goals is they pick big, scary goals that they're often intimidated by. And when we look at it from the yearly perspective, we might pick a goal that is just, not that anybody's dreams are too big, that's not ever the case, but it might be a very, very big goal that takes breaking it down into a few different steps that we don't really see it that way. And we're just like, well, I want to become a business owner this year. Okay, get more specific about that. What does that exactly look like, right? Well, we often fall short of reaching our goals because we pick this kind of big generalized goal without any sort of defined steps to it. And without any defined steps, it can be very hard to make that first step. We also tend to pile too much onto our plate. As human beings, we do best at really refining our focus and intensifying our focus towards just a couple things at a time. But at the start of a year, when we look at it from the perspective of, oh, I have this entire year, we kind of pile on the goals and we want to do this and that, and we have 8 different things that we want to get good at. And you absolutely can get good at 8 or 12 different things throughout the year. You just got to work on them a little bit at a time. So in one quarter, you work on 1 or 2 big goals, and then the next quarter, you move on to the next ones, right? Another reason why our goals fail and why we don't meet them throughout the year is that we just don't stick to them. We don't have a plan that keeps us accountable for checking in, for making sure that we're doing all of the steps that we need to make that goal happen. And a lot of us just kind of focus on the end result rather than the daily small action steps that are going to get us to our goal. We also tend to lose track of where we are. This is simply because of a lack of tracking our progress or having a system in place that keeps us accountable or actually lets us see, like, okay, am I doing enough to get to where I want to go? Am I doing enough to make this thing happen that I'm saying that I want to happen? We just lose track. We don't really keep a scorecard or something tangible that shows us where we're at in the game. Also, rigid plans can be a pitfall. When we make our plans for the year too strict, it can be a lot easier to give up when things don't go right or when we're not seemingly getting the result that we want. It's a lot easier to just scrap the whole thing and be like, well, I'll try again next year. And then, of course, there's always the I'll do it later trap. This whole idea of a year's worth of time to complete your goal will have you thinking that you have plenty of time to get it done, when in reality, we just lose interest in things when we have that long to work on it. And finally, sometimes we just pick goals that don't fit our overall vision for our life or the dream that we want to live. And it can be really, really hard to stay committed to goals that you don't actually really want to pursue and that you don't really care if they come into your life or happen to your life or change your life. So how do we solve each of these pitfalls that were just mentioned in order to kind of get past these blockages and actually see some traction towards our goals and know that we're on the right path? How do we actually get to seeing results? So the number one way to beat the procrastination trap is a shorter time frame for these goals. So instead of picking a year to do your goal, you're going to pick a 12-week window. It's kind of like a sprint. You just feel like you have to get going right away because you have 12 weeks or 3 months to really achieve this thing that you say that you want to have or do. In a 3-month window, it's much more clear to see realistically how much time you have to work with. It's not too short and it's not too long. Think about a school system that perhaps you've been in before, and almost all the classes, especially in college, they get broken down into quarterly segments or semester segments, not over the course of an entire year. Yes, like your sophomore year or your junior year, those types of things might take an entire year, but when it comes down to classes and coursework and breaking down a concept into something that by the end of that class you're able to understand, you're hopefully able to explain to someone else, it usually lasts about 3-ish months, right? It gives a sense of urgency, but it also gives you a little bit shorter time window to work with so that you feel like you can stay motivated. But moving on to the second point, which is creating that sense of urgency. Even though we're whittling down to 12 weeks, you're gonna treat those 12 weeks like it's an entire year. That way, you're gonna feel motivated to take action from day one. And you guys, I just want to remind you that we are so much more capable than we think. Even as most of us are probably procrastinators, we can get done a surprising amount of things in a very short time. We just kind of need that fire under our butts or a little bit of time pressure, right? And we can create that for ourselves with this concept of the 12-week year. And let's be real, how many of us really do work better under pressure, right? So the third solution to the pitfalls that we talked about earlier with goal setting is making those big goals feel doable. You're gonna work backwards to break down your dreams into smaller, much more manageable tasks. So the number one very, very important thing to do here is to pick only 1 to 3 goals that you're gonna really heavily focus on during the 12-week period. And honestly, my suggestion for those people who are going through this the very first time, they're just trying this method out, is pick just one goal that's very important to you and put your all into it for these next 12 weeks. Start with just the one main goal until you really get this method and this process down, until it becomes second nature to you. And a way that you can take a big goal and break it down into steps that you can actually do to make sure that it keeps you moving, keeps you progressing towards that goal, is you're gonna work backwards. So you're gonna take that big goal of yours, then you're gonna research, what do I need to do to make this goal a reality in my life? Then you're gonna look at that research, and you're gonna break that down into the steps that need to happen. So once you have the list of steps or tasks that you need to check off in order to get you to that goal, you're gonna spread those out over the 12 weeks that you have, right? The breaking down of this goal is really what's gonna make it manageable and attainable for you. And as you chip away at them, you're gonna know, hey, little by little, I know I'm marking off these steps and I'm gonna make it to my goal by the end of these 12 weeks. The next most important thing, keep your focus on what really matters. Again, don't spread yourself too thin. Keep this 1 or 2 goals in mind at the forefront of your mind at all times. This is going to help you give your all to what's truly, truly important. I think as human beings, we all fall into this pitfall of sometimes we can get really scared by our goal or not feel worthy of what it is that we want to accomplish or achieve. And so what do we do when we feel that way? We kind of start to engage in busy work or distractions because, again, at the root of it, we just don't feel worthy of having that dream, so we don't take the steps to make it happen. Instead, we'll make ourselves busy with just endless cleaning or endless organizing or just things that we know, yeah, they might be useful, but they're not those steps that we need to take that will lead us to that goal. Just want to encourage you guys that before giving into any sort of distractions or busy work or procrastination, really ask yourself, is this something I'm doing just because I don't feel like I deserve my goal? Or is this a task that is going to help me get closer to my goal? Is it going to contribute to those actions, to that list of things that I need to do in order to get me closer to my dream? The next thing you're going to do is plan every single one of your weeks towards success. What does this look like? You do need to spend some time thinking about what needs to be done each week in order for you to get to your goal at the end of the 12 weeks. When you have a clear plan, it makes it much easier to take the right action every single day to get you there. Believe it or not, planning your weeks will actually be a lot easier when you have your 12-week plan listed out and you have all of your tasks broken down into what exactly needs to happen, because then with every single week that you go into, you're going to look at, okay, for week 3, these are the tasks that I need to do for this specific goal. And that way you're not stuck doing the same thing week after week after week and feeling like you're not getting anywhere. You're just going to look at what needs to be done for that specific week according to your plan to reach your goal, and you're going to focus on that week. And the next thing is keeping score and staying accountable. Most of the time, if we can't put a number to something, it can be really hard to track. Imagine if spending money wasn't tied to numbers. You would have no idea how much you're spending, how much you're saving, where you're at financially. It would just kind of be like shots in the dark. We're gonna assign numerical value to these things, and we're gonna track our progress weekly to see how we're doing. Are we staying on track? Are we kind of falling off? Where is the breakdowns happening? And this is gonna kind of make it like a game for you, right? In games, they keep track of the score. That's how they know who's winning and who's losing. And for you, with your 12-week plan, you're gonna aim for about 85% for that week. If you're getting 85% of what you need to get done, then you can kind of consider that a success week. And then you don't have to have so much pressure on yourself that, I have to have 100% score every single week after week, because guess what? Things happen. Some things might come into your life that you might need to deal with, that you might not be able to get to certain tasks. So it's okay to make some leeway for that, but it's also really important to stay accountable and stay observant of what's going on. Now, I just want to say that making this 12-week process a game for yourself is key. As humans, I think we just all like games, and having a reward system too that you create for yourself is going to make sure that you stay on track. And your reward system is completely up to you. So let's say You make 85% of that week, right? It's a successful week. Let's say you buy something off of your wish list, or you go and you enjoy something. And that way, that also makes things a little interesting for you too. So you're not just buying things willy-nilly or just getting those dopamine hits. You're delaying that gratification according to what it is that you accomplish for yourself, and I think that could work really well too. We're creatures of habit and we live for rewards, so definitely find a way to rope that in to make it work for you and your 12-week goal plan. Another thing that I think we should really touch on is that it's important to stay flexible and adjust when needed. You're going to be checking in with yourself weekly as well as halfway through that 12-week period. And this is going to help you realize that, hey, if something's not working, then this is my chance to pivot. This is my chance to change something about this plan so that I can do better. It's super important to be honest with yourself about where those breakdowns are happening, okay? Where are you losing steam? Where are you avoiding certain things and certain tasks? What do you always get done? What are things you always say yes to? Because the thing is, if you allow yourself to be ignorant of your mistakes or your pitfalls week after week after week, eventually you're just gonna have to start over. And you miss out on opportunities that help you get closer to your goal. And just a reminder that it's completely okay to change something if it's not working. In fact, it's better to do that rather than just to keep doing the same thing that's not really working for you. And often we find that doing the opposite of what's not working is kind of the antidote to the problem. So I definitely recommend to try doing that. There's nothing to lose. The other thing you're gonna do with the 12-week plan is you're going to stay on track with regularly checking in with yourself. So what does this look like? You're going to meet either with yourself or with a friend, and I do think it works better if you have a peer that you're being accountable to. You're going to do that meeting regularly, so like weekly, to kind of talk about your progress, talk about what you're struggling with, talk about what's working for you, and just kind of get re-excited about this goal that you're working towards. It's kind of like having a workout buddy, but for your goals. I'm going to keep reiterating, accountability is huge for this method because it's really easy to fall off of track and just give up and be like, oh, I'll try again the next 12 weeks when you don't really have anybody that you're answering to. And again, that could just be a friend, a colleague, someone who's kind of on the same track of wanting to improve their life and achieve their goals. But whoever it is, you just want to pick somebody that you can meet with regularly and check in with them, keep them in check about how their progress is going. Because at the end of the day, I think if we're trying to get somewhere, we like someone to check in on us and be like, hey, how's that thing going? Like, how have you made any progress towards it? And I also think that sometimes when we just tell people what we want to do or what we want to accomplish, our brain kind of gets the same dopamine hit from that, just telling them, as you would like completing it. Like your brain already thinks you've done it. So that's why it's important to keep that to a few key people who will actually be beneficial on your journey and really help you accomplish that thing. If you have only yourself to answer to, you can easily slip, you can easily stop caring, and then just lose the plot altogether. So for that step, find a friend who is like-minded, who wants to pursue something in their life, and take this 12-week challenge on together. You really want to take these goals that you decided to work on for the 12-week year and connect them to the bigger picture of your life. You want to make sure that all of this energy and all of this effort that you're pouring into achieving this goal is going to fit into your life plans, that the life that you want to live. Because when your goals align with your dreams, you'll feel more excited to go after them. You'll feel more excited to pursue them. And I think a lot of us understand that it's actually a lot harder to go full force after something that you don't actually really want. You know what else is also very difficult? To watch opportunities slip by you because you're not taking them, you weren't prepared for them, and then suddenly, you know, time has gone by, you might not have as much energy or as much time to work on certain things, and regret can be a really tough emotion to live with. I think a really important thing to keep in mind is that a lot of the opportunities that come our way are the ones that we create for ourselves. Again, just picture those big dreams. There's nothing wrong with big goals or big dreams, but work backwards. Kind of break those down into doable, manageable tasks and an action plan so that you can truly see them come to fruition. You decide how you want your life to look this way, down to the very details. And then you're just gonna start chipping away at that plan. So I just want to kind of go over all of that again by showing you personal examples of how I break down my goals and how I stay on track, stay accountable, what my systems are for all of these things, just to give you guys a few ideas that you can take for yourself as well. So the first one being dream big, right? We got to connect this 12-week plan to our bigger dream for our life. You're going to think about where you want to be in the future, and you're going to use that picture to guide your shorter term goals. I absolutely take the big picture literally, and I live for a vision board. And by that I mean I will specifically write down things that I want to experience or how I want my life to look. Then I'll go and find images on Pinterest that really match that vibe and kind of inspire this feeling in me that, yes, like that's the life that I want to live, that's the person I want to be, that's how I want my day to look, that's how I want my surroundings and my environment to look. So I'll save all those pictures. I will literally get them printed at Walgreens and just get a bunch of craft supplies. We actually did a vision board day with a few of my friends and we just had the most fun. They were cutting their pictures out of magazines. You can use those too, but putting all of that together and kind of making those images stick in your mind is going to make the biggest difference, because if you can see something in your mind's eye and you hold that picture there, eventually that thing is going to come into your reality. So once you have that kind of picture and that vision board, you're going to pick those 12-week goals, right? Again, I like to pick just one to start off with so you can really get in the practice of this, but up to 3 is generally good to work on. So the way that this works, like for example, do you want to get into a new career? That's kind of the bigger picture thing, right? Well, to whittle it down for the 12 weeks, you're gonna look into, okay, what skill do I need to acquire or learn in order to give myself a better chance into getting into this career field? And then you're gonna go and you're gonna look at the steps. What do I need to do to acquire this skill? And that's your plan for the next 12 weeks. How about, do you want to be a content creator? Well, you got to create content online. Commit to, for the next 12 weeks, to posting content on a schedule that's doable to you. I'm not saying you have to do it every single day, but do something every week that's going to get you closer to being a content creator. Again, you want to do this in a way that's doable and bite-sized for you, because if you try to take on too much all at once, you're just gonna burn out and give up. How about you want to learn how to turn your hobby into a business, right? You can actually ask ChatGPT to write you a detailed business plan based on your skills and interests and how much revenue you want to make. It's actually kind of crazy how helpful AI is to us these days, but once ChatGPT gives you that plan, there you go. You have some sort of a framework or action steps that you can work on if your dream is to turn your hobby into a paying business. How about you just want to get your home in order and you want your house to be more aesthetic and be more functional and be more you? Well, you're going to prioritize the areas that you really want to see transformed, and you're just going to break down tasks and action items into what you're going to do over the next 12 weeks that's going to help you get there. And I think for those types of things, actually for all of these things, having a vision board and having some sort of mood board that you look at and you're like, yes, at the end of these 12 weeks, this is how I want it to look. That's going to be super duper helpful to you. So once you have those goals and that kind of 12-week plan, you're going to do your weekly to-do lists. And the way that this looks is, for example, I use Notion, so I will have 12-week sections under each of my 3 goals that I'm trying to work towards. I'll show you guys an example. So there's 12 sections under each goal, 1 for each week. And then every single section that you click into, there's little tasks for that week that, okay, if I get these tasks done, then I know I'm getting closer and closer and closer to the goal. And it just feels really good to like cross things off and just know that you're completing things and getting there, you know? To break that even further down, you want to keep your daily focus. So take the tasks for each day, Stick with them. Don't lose your momentum, because every little action and every step is going to build on itself. And if you kind of slack off for like 2 or 3 days, it can be a lot harder to get back to where you were when you were just like chipping away at it day by day by day and making it part of who you are, part of your character, part of your habits. And then we also talk in the 12-week plan or the 12-week year about how we keep score. So I just want to show you guys how I keep score. It's super important to track how well you're doing each week, because that's going to show you, okay, are you staying on track or are you not? Got to be able to measure things. So how do I keep score? I do it pretty easily, also on Notion. I just divide the tasks that I completed by the total tasks that I had for the week. So let's say, for example, if I completed 18 tasks out of my 21 tasks for the week, that means I have an 86% score for the week, and that is considered by the 12-week yearbook a successful week. That means you're doing enough to get to where you want to go. A perfect score is not necessary. You don't have to hit 100 every week, and that can be really, really relieving, but you do want to aim for about 85 or higher. So if you're doing anything less than 85, it means something somewhere is not getting done or getting attended to, and it might affect how you reach your goal or whether you reach it at all within 12 weeks. So when it comes to my weekly check-in, I also really like to assess each and every single one of my weeks to see, okay, how am I doing? I have to be real with myself. Is there anything I'm avoiding? Are there things I'm actively resisting? So I have a little weekly review for myself that I've kind of built based on this book. And my weekly review looks like, well, what's my weekly rating? So that's the execution percentage of what I'm doing. That's that percentage of the tasks done that we just talked about. And where is the execution breakdown occurring? So this means, where am I losing steam? Where am I avoiding things? Where is kind of the momentum being lost, right? And then I also take a look at, okay, are there any tasks that I left undone? Those are the tasks that you're actively resisting. And surprisingly enough, you might see a pattern week after week after week, and that's a really good way to kind of catch yourself and notice, like, okay, I'm actively resisting checking my emails because I just don't want to go through them, or opening my mail, or some other thing that you might have in your action plan, but you're just not getting to because you're stalling and you know, trying to talk yourself out of doing it. So a really cool way to deal with that is to immediately in your weekly review to sit down and be like, what are going to be the solutions to the things that I'm actively resisting? How am I going to avoid this happening next week? How am I going to pivot from this? For me, for example, I noticed that I was not checking my emails and just kind of letting them pile up in my inbox. And I was like, okay, I'm going to set aside a day, Wednesday, to do just my emails and really get into them. All the other days I can kind of check and see if there's anything urgent, but when it comes to like really getting into and organizing my inbox, I have a separate day set aside for that. And finally, you're going to ask yourself, did I make or fail my week? So this is going to be really important to know if you're on track for the 12 weeks. Again, I just want to encourage you to never see a failed week as an actual failure. Just see it as a chance to pivot and change something that's not working and do something better the next time around. Finally, there's going to be the 12-week wrap-up, which means you've made it through the 12 weeks and you'll be able to see, did you achieve your goal or not, with all of these little action steps that you took and the plan that you broke down for yourself and spread out over the 12 weeks. Did it get you to where you wanted to be or not? And guess what? You're going to have another 12 weeks coming up that you can try again if maybe you didn't get your desired result. And if you did manage to make your goal that you wanted to do, just treat yourself, take yourself out, buy yourself something nice, maybe give yourself an experience, a concert, a trip, a getaway to a spa, just something that, it's already going to feel really good that you did what you said you'd set out to do, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with celebrating. And why not bring your accountability buddy along and do something together and just be like, hey, we did this. What are we going to crush next 12 weeks? So that could be really cute and really fun. There you have it. We just unpacked the 12-week year, the book, and I really encourage you, if you're interested in kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of the concept, to read the book yourself. but I just want to remind you that this isn't about cramming a year's worth of work into 12 years. It's just about kind of giving yourself a shorter timeline and making things a little bit more manageable by choosing to laser focus on 1, 2, or 3 goals that you're really going to give your all to. You're going to stay accountable. You're going to really outline your tasks. And I mean, it's going to be so much easier that way. So you can really do this whether you're aiming to launch a podcast, or you're going to finally organize your chaotic closet, or you want to kickstart that side hustle that you've been dreaming of doing. This method can really be your secret weapon. So grab that vision board, write down your bigger goals into bite-sized chunks, spread them out over the 12 weeks, write down the tasks that you need to do every single day to get to that. And I promise you, you are going to see amazing results in your life. And who knows, maybe by the time 2025 starts and there's a new year, you might be celebrating more than just the beginning of a new year. You might be celebrating this new and improved version of you who really knows how to go after what they want and make things happen and just feel really, really good about that. Now, that's something worth working towards, isn't it? If you guys have any tips along this sort of topic, goals, achieving your goals, staying productive, staying on top of it, I really encourage you to share them down in the comments for your fellow listeners and for you guys to just kind of talk about and encourage each other to stay on track. You can even maybe find some accountability buddies in the comments, and yeah, hopefully you guys find some connection there and are able to share some really good tips. I know I'm looking forward to reading some of the comments and seeing what works for you guys. Thanks for coming along for today's episode. And if you're watching on YouTube and if you found this episode helpful at all, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to see more self-improvement content from me. You can also follow me on my socials linked below in the description box and find all of my favorite items linked on my LTK, which I have been building out and having a lot of fun with. Here is your reminder that you will absolutely achieve your dream, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.